Hey, in this video, you're going to discover 3 actionable tips for Amazon A+ content to help you get more sales on Amazon. And in this video, I'm accompanied by Emma Sherman-Tamir, who's the co-founder of Marketing by Emma, which is a firm that specializes in copywriting for Amazon sellers and creates awesome listings for Amazon sellers and a bunch of other cool stuff. So Emma, could you please introduce yourself to us? And yeah, let's talk. Welcome again. Yeah.
Thank you for having me back, Vova. I'm super excited to dig into A+ content with you today. It's been something that we've been talking about recording for a while. And yeah, I hope that this video sort of makes A+ content feel a little bit less intimidating. I think people look at it and they're like, wow, that's a lot. It's very complicated, and it's much simpler than it appears. And also, I think it's worth sort of clarifying. Sometimes you'll hear people say EBC or enhanced brand content, and you may wonder, is that a different thing? EBC is A+ content. It was actually originally called A+ content. Then they started calling it enhanced brand content. And then about a year or so, a year and a half ago, they switched back to calling it A+ content. So you can use the words interchangeably, but when you're looking on Amazon, that's the term that they are currently using as of today.
Awesome. Welcome back to the channel. Yes, it was pretty nice having you last time. I also linked the previous video where we talked about cool and converting titles, description, and bullet points. And we also touched on A+ content, so this video can be cool to watch after this. So I'll link this video in the end of this video and also down in the description for our dear viewers. And yeah, A+ content is pretty cool. It can add to your sales, which we all like, more conversions, talk more about your brand, just showcase more about your stuff, and that's pretty awesome. So let's talk about these tips. We have, I guess, 3 tips for now, and then yeah. So what would be your first tip, Emma, for good A+ content, so to say?
Sure. So I would say my first tip is really finding that right balance between text and imagery. So back in the day, Amazon was really limited with the different modules that you could choose, and it created this very blocky, unappealing looking page that was not really that sexy to customers. And so the way that people would get around that is they would create one big image and have their full A+ content sort of just designed within that image. And then they'd have a big chunk of text underneath that. You don't have to do that anymore. The modules have come a long way, and there are many different modules, some of which are even interactive. And so you can design things so that they're not all embedded within the image itself, because you have to remember, if somebody's looking at your listing on their phone, then if it's all within the image, they're going to have to really zoom in order to be able to read everything. And so I feel like most of the time when I'm looking at A+ content, it's either one extreme or the other. It's either almost no text, and so you're sort of left to try to wonder what it is that the
Why are these people
trying to show
smiling?
you.
Yeah,
Right. Like,
right.
what is this? I don't know. I mean, truly, there are many listings I look at and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and the bullets are not giving me that much information. And then on the other extreme, you see some A+ and it's just like an explosion of text that's totally overwhelming. And because the limits on characters are much higher than, a traditional description, I think some people take that to mean, oh, well, we can just go crazy and write everything that we would possibly want. But you really want to think about your A+ content as a landing page. So a great landing page is concise, it keeps attention, it tells everybody that exactly what they need to know. And then by the time that you get to the bottom, you want to buy, or you want to find, you want to go get a little bit more information. And so you really want to think about that story and make sure that even the way that you're putting your information together, it makes sense and it isn't just sort of jumping around. So that would be my first tip, is to really find that sweet spot of text and imagery. And you can even do A/B testing. Amazon allows you to test that, and A+ against A+. And one of the most common things that I know people test is that. So having, very light text versus slightly heavier text, and seeing what people respond to better. So it could be worth exploring that if you are wondering what's going to have the most impact for your particular product.
All right, I
I would
understand.
say
So
the second really easy.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Shoot. No, I wanted to say, like,
Did
if
you
I
have a
understood you
question?
right, it's like I just wanted to kind of sum it up in a kind of to sum it up.
Yeah, go
But
for it.
did you want to add something to this first tip, or you wanted to jump into tip number two?
I was just getting eager for tip number two, but
All right, okay, because it's yeah, we all want to know what's the second one, right? But for the first one, I understand that we want to have the balance between text and imagery, because sometimes, and I see it as well, right? I see sometimes either awesome kind of images, but I don't understand what they're trying to explain. So as I mentioned before, people are laughing. It's nice. We want to see happy faces and stuff like that, but a little bit, at least 3 words, like let us know why they're laughing, what made them laugh, stuff like that. Or again, too much text where you just, it tires you. And as you mentioned, you gotta look at it as an landing page where people land on your page, and they usually go from up to bottom, and the way we should structure it is that it's going to be readable, it's going to be sexy to the user, and that they will go through all the process through this little funnel that Amazon allows us to have on our kind of on our page. And by the time they get to the bottom, they're like, yeah, I like this product, I want to buy, and they buy, or at least they add to cart and they buy later, but better buy now. All right,
yes,
so if that
right
sums it up,
now.
right now, and can we right now get to,
Well, if you do a good
yeah,
job,
yeah,
then that will
yeah.
happen.
Yes,
Because, I
that's true.
think that people don't look enough at the perspective of the customer when they're putting their pages together. And one of the most common mistakes that I see sellers make is they just try to copy the biggest competitors in their space. And first of all, I can't tell you the number of times that the top competitors have some of the worst listings. And I think the reason that they're able to be successful is likely because they've just been on Amazon for a long time, so they've been able to get enough reviews, and they have that kind of velocity of things that they don't necessarily need to have a great listing, though they would probably still perform better if they did. And
Yeah.
so really thinking about how to differentiate yourself, which actually goes into my second tip, which is that your A+ content is a fantastic place to not just explain your product, but to really explain your brand and what makes you different as a business, and why people should want to buy from you rather than your competitors. It's pretty unlikely that your product is going to be completely revolutionary compared to your top competitors. And so actually the branding piece is one of those specific things that you can do to give customers a point to grab onto and to decide between you and your competitors. So how often have you had that experience where you go onto Amazon, you type in whatever your search term is, you pull up a page, and you get a full page of results that are the same picture, the same title, you click into the listing and everything's the same, and you're sort of forced into this analysis paralysis position of like, I don't even know how to choose between these. The price is the same, the reviews are more or less the same. And so then you just don't really have a lot that you can even use to make a decision. It's all too much the same. And that's a really frustrating position to be in as a customer. So that branding piece, and people hear the term branding, and I think they immediately sort of in their minds get this idea of like logo and colors you're using and these sort of like static design choices. And while those are part of branding, your branding is really everything that you do and how your business operates in the world, whether you're intentional about that or not. So everything from how your customer service responds to problems or inquiries, to the way you design your packaging, to the images and text that you're using on your page, all of that together is working to create a story and to give sort of substance and an identity to your business. And the more thoughtful that you can be about that, and you can really use it as a tool to differentiate yourself from your competitors, even if you're selling exactly the same product. And so you can really target in on a specific niche and give customers something to grab onto and say, yes, I like what they're doing. The products are sort of, it's not that different, but there's something about this business that I connect with, that I, whether I trust them more, or like they have my sense of humor. A product that comes to mind, or a brand rather, I believe it's called Mr. Sasquatch. Darn it. I wish something like that. It might be slightly different. I'll follow up with you, and I'll send you a link that you can put in the description as an example. Mr. Squatch, I think that's what it's called. It is handmade soap targeted specifically for men. And the picture, their logo is a Sasquatch with a pipe and bubbles coming out of the pipe. And it's just a very playful branding. They have a sense of humor in their bullets and in their A+ content. And they're sort of not in a mean way, but kind of gently making fun of these really stereotypical masculine topics of how you would normally write about soap for men. And so you see that and you instantly know who's going to, like, the kind of person that's going to respond to that really positively. And of course, not everybody is necessarily going to relate to that really strongly, but it is something that when you see that and it does excite you, that's going to be one of those little points that you're going to use as a customer that says, this brand makes me smile. This brand doesn't take themselves too seriously. And I just like what they're doing, even though, soap is soap is soap. There's nothing revolutionary about soap. You can have different ingredients, you can have different manufacturing products, but when it comes down to it, the soap that we're using today is not all that different from soap that was being, made 100 years ago at home when people made their own soap. So that branding piece is a really valuable thing that you can use. And the A+ content is the space to really build that up. You can do it in your product images and in your bullets, but since your bullets need to be short and impactful, you're a little bit limited with how much you can really build on that bigger who we are question. And your A+ content gives you some space to not just speak to the product itself, but to speak about your brand specifically. So if you have something that really differentiates you, whether it's a cause that you care deeply about, or a really cool story, or special manufacturing practices, or the fact that you're a family-owned business, any of those details, that it's worth sharing because it gives customers an opportunity to connect and relate on a human level that's not just product focused.
I understand. So if I understood you right, A+ content is extra space for us to tell about our brand. And in this way, even saturated markets, perhaps, where our product probably is not as revolutionary as we might think sometimes, but even though we do our best to do something special, but again, being realistic, right? We create products, but yeah, they're kind of pretty much, so at least in my case, I gotta be honest, right? But still, with the branding and with the A+ content, we're able to create magic because we tell special stories, or we just tell our story. How are we different? Maybe it's, it can be maybe the same pen, but I have a story where I couldn't write well in school. Let me, just and take it to and tell about who the creator of the product is or something like that. So in the A+ content, we have tons of space for this, okay? And then we can really expand on that topic there. And this way we can differentiate. And as you mentioned, sometimes people just open two tabs, they see kind of the same product, they don't understand even, they're trying to compare, it's kind of the same here, same pictures, and they are even not having that fun buying, but boom, they click on you, and suddenly even the same product, yeah, maybe with a bit different packaging, different colors, and with all the story in the EBC, it makes them feel, right? That's the thing. Maybe
Exactly.
That's the thing. It makes them feel stuff, even during watching the screen, and it's very legitimate. It's nice. They can watch, they can get some sort of emotions, and not boring emotions or being bored from kind of boring listings. Yes, there are listings like that, but we make it fun, we make it playful. Again, if this is your brand, right? If your brand is fun and playful and you create it in a fun, playful way, or maybe your brand is more serious and like manly or something, or it makes fun of the manly thing, then that's what
Exactly.
differentiates you, and it can help you get a sale, right?
Definitely. And I think, it's important to remember this isn't easy to do. So it's not like something that it may feel natural, because a lot of times, in order to really commit to this branding piece, it requires you to be brave. It requires you to, rather than
Yeah.
just do what everybody else is doing, you are making a choice to be different in a bold way that may also turn some people off. And I think that there's this idea that, you say, oh, who's your dream customer? You say, oh, and anybody would be
Mm-hmm.
able to use my, soap and love it. But if you're trying to sell to everybody, then you miss that clear perspective, and you're just really making a very bland thing that is likely not going to appeal to anybody in particular. Another great example that demonstrates this really well is a company called Black Rifle Coffee Company. And again, similar to soap, coffee is coffee is coffee. You have where the beans come from, and you have the different roasts and the different roasting styles, but there's not a lot of innovation that's going into the way that you roast and source the beans. And so what Black Rifle Coffee Company has done, and they have achieved a lot of success, they're a veteran owned company, and they employ veterans. And so if you look at their A+ content for any of their products, the majority of the A+ content is not really speaking to the coffee itself. It is talking about their brand, their mission, their story. They have a picture of the team, they have a
Mm-hmm.
picture of the founder and a little message from him. And not everybody is going to be excited by a business that is a veteran owned business. There are people that do not, have
Yeah.
positive feelings about the military and law enforcement. And they could sort of water that down and minimize that. But instead, what they've done is they've really embraced that, made it a huge part of who they are as a business. And so, for the people that are really excited about veteran owned businesses and believe strongly in these, same things, then they're given that opportunity to build a relationship with a brand that shares their values and vision, and all of those things that create brand recognition and brand loyalty, because that's what we all ultimately want to be. We want to be that Nike, we want to be that McDonald's, or whatever it is, where people just see your colors or a logo and they instantly know who that is. And while achieving that level of recognition may be difficult, by investing in this piece, you can start to transform yourself from being that product that they bought on Amazon to being this brand that is super awesome that you should definitely check out.
Yeah, sounds like it makes sense. Also, authenticity is good. Like for
Yes.
like different brands, I think if you are more, it seems, yes, at least from the things from the way I do stuff on YouTube, I'm just telling stuff as it is, and I think it's just more fair to the viewers or the customers. So that's the same thing on Amazon. If you can just be authentic, tell about your processes, what you do with the product, how you create it, or just be authentic about all the process of what you're doing and how you're doing this. This really helps, because people want to see real stuff, right? I think, or maybe there are people who don't, and then they don't fit this brand, so that's fine, because then we again create this,
And
you know what I mean?
right.
Right?
They can also see through it a lot of times. I think that
Yeah.
people don't give customers as much credit as they should. And a lot of that sort of manipulative, over the top, or just disingenuous approach, it's obvious, people see through that, and they still may purchase from you if you have, something that has a lot of reviews, or is priced fairly, or was recommended by someone they know. But you're not going to be able to have the same impact that you would if you really are intentional and thoughtful about how you're presenting yourself in a way that aligns with who you are, as a business owner and as a brand.
I agree. I agree with you, Emma. And what would be your third point of this
Yeah, so my
ABC, actually A plus? Yeah, A plus now. Could be.
third my third point is a little more kind of like tactical. So I know we've spoken a little more theoretical with the first 2 points. The most underutilized module for A plus content is the standard comparison chart. It is an awesome module. And the reason why I love it so much is you can link to other products in your catalog. Now, this can serve two main functions. One function is, let's say you have a product line and there are a lot of similarities between your products, and it may be challenging for customers to identify which one is the correct one for them. So that could be, an external hard drive, and maybe, there's size, there's the amount of storage, speed, maybe one's like extra durable. So if you drop it, but so just looking at the pages individually, it may be really difficult for a customer to clearly understand how they compare. And so that standard comparison chart is a great, easy way to lay that all out so that you're directing people to the right product that fits them. Similarly, we were just speaking about like Black Rifle coffee or the Mr. Squatch soap, and those are also in that same vein where there are just slight differences. And rather than sending customers to compare your product to your competitor's product, you're allowing them to compare you to you. And so not only is it increasing the likelihood that they'll end up purchasing from you, but you're also helping to make sure that you're making the right sales. Because if somebody's confused about which one's the right one for them, then it's easier for somebody to mistakenly purchase the wrong one, and to then, either have to go through a back and forth and returns, or the customer is ultimately going to go elsewhere in the end. So that's one way that it can be really great. The other way is, let's say that you have products that are really complementary of each other. So let's imagine, and I don't know whether they do or not, I guess I should look it up, but let's imagine that Black Rifle Coffee Company, maybe they also sell mugs, maybe they sell a milk froth, ooh, that's a hard word, frother, and maybe they also sell a baseball hat that has the logo on it. So it's sort of like your complete coffee kit. So somebody can go there, and it's a higher likelihood that if they're looking, especially their coffee is not cheap. Their coffee is more premium, small batch coffee. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I think it's anywhere around $16 or $18 for 12 ounces. So, more than double the price of what you would buy to just get like a more generic grocery store brand. So in this case, you have somebody who is already interested in a more premium coffee. So for them, they're already indicating these are values that are important to us, and we really cherish our coffee drinking experience. So they may be people that, if you also have some of these other products that you can display to them at the end, that could be a really easy upsell to just increase the value of your cart, because somebody looking for coffee beans may also have be more interested in buying some coffee making accessories. Or, in the case of if it's merchandise, if they're really into your brand and they feel excited by what you're doing, then they may want to invest in that brand relationship even more and essentially advertise for you by wearing some of your merch. So obviously not all brands are necessarily merch specific, but this idea of complementary products is a great, easy way to increase your cart value, and a lot of people will be interested in it. Like, another great application for this particular module is something like skincare or beauty, where you may have a few different product lines, or you have your top sellers. And so if somebody's looking for a serum, they may also want a face mask and would be interested in a facial peel and a really nice moisturizer for all skin types. And so if you've already held their attention through to the bottom of the page and they're interested in this product, then you have that opportunity to continue holding their interest, keeping them from going to other brands' pages and potentially not only make one sale, but make, a few sales.
A few sales, right? So if I understand right, first thing you mentioned was the comparison chart, where you can ease the purchase for the buyer by, if we have a few products, say, we can ease the purchase for them by, say, comparing sizes maybe, or materials that they might not particularly maybe know what's good for them. But in the comparison chart, you can explain it to them, which will potentially leave out like negative reviews from coming, or maybe returns, or just messages from the customers like, hey, I bought the wrong this and that. And this can really help the comparison chart for our brand to just make it easier for the customer. Again, if we ease this for them, it's just easier for them to buy. And again, it's gonna get us more reviews. It will save us the bad reviews, because one bad review is like maybe 10, 12, like say positive reviews in terms of like the weight on the star rating, if we talk in this right aspect. But also you mentioned that we can kind of upsell in the bottom of, again, of the A+ content. Usually it's in the bottom, right? Or maybe it's up to us if we want to put it in the bottom.
You can place the comparison chart wherever you so you typically have 7 modules that you can up to 7 modules that you can add into your A+ content. Most often, I would say it's used at the bottom.
The bottom, right? Yeah.
I tend to think that that's the most natural place to put it, because it starts to be that transition point to going somewhere else if this isn't the right product for you. I think in the middle, it can look sloppy, but it also kind of is confusing and is not really where you would expect to see something like that.
I see, right. And I also got to say that it helps with creating perhaps even frequently bought together, which is really nice. And also it can be helpful for creating customers who viewed this item also viewed. This is like a little section, again, more real estate on the listing. If people click, it's called relinking or internal linking, where people can click through the products and the side of knowing more about your brand, about your products, and it increases the likelihood of them buying. It also creates this relevancy on Amazon, where you can be shown at your own listings with your own products to catch more real estate and not give it to the competition, which can also gain the placements in these places. So it can be a competitor in the placement where it says a customer who viewed this also viewed that. And yes, pretty awesome tips, Emma. And let me challenge you a little bit. A bonus tip for us, please. Something you already gave a lot, but maybe something.
So this is a less sexy tip, but I think it's something that people don't necessarily know, especially if they're creating A+ for the first time. But you should spend time looking at what you can and cannot say with A+ content. So Amazon is, there's certain words and things that you can't say in any part of a listing, but when you specifically get to A+ content, there's an even more specific list, and that is something that they are looking at before they even make your A+ content live. So it's not necessarily going to create a huge problem, but it can just sort of slow down your time that you're actually getting that up, because you have to have the back and forth. But you know what? I feel like that's not a good enough tip. So I'm going to add on a tip to that.
Right.
So, the A+ content most of the time takes the place of your product description. So that standard, just sort of texty description. But what people don't really realize is that even if that product description isn't visible, it's still an opportunity and a place for you to be including keywords into your page. And so it does have an ability to have a little bit of impact on your SEO. But also, we all know that Amazon at times does weird things, even if you haven't done anything wrong. So let's say that for whatever reason, your A+ content is suddenly no longer visible. if you don't have anything there, then you're missing out on a huge piece of why somebody would want to buy your product. So even though you may be creating that A+ content, I would still encourage you to be thoughtful and to put together a product description, either both for the indexing and in the event that there's ever any issue for your A+ content, then you still have something there in that space that is providing additional information for the customer to be able to hopefully still choose you.
Yeah, so let me sum up the 2 bonus tips. It turned out to be 2, which is awesome. I'm happy. That's awesome. It's bonus, but it's double the bonus. So let's say start with the second one, which you said that we should fill the description, because sometimes the A+ might drop and disappear for some reason. And again, if you have many listings and maybe you don't have someone who's looking for that, one day you can just see like, hey, for 2 weeks we just had no description or no A+ content. So you should add a description with SEO based keywords and all the stuff, but also it helps with the SEO, right? As far as I understand, even if it's in the back end, like if it's, you don't see it, right? It's going to be inside your Seller Central, so to say. It's going to be covered by the A+ content, but still it's good to have keywords there. And that's your second tip. And the first tip was like to just, when you're submitting this content, just make sure you know the rules of the A+ content, because sometimes when you submit it, they're going to take a few, maybe hours, actually usually it's days, to check it. And if they come back to you, then, hey, you need to fix that. It's like a week of sales you might have missed. And maybe if you got in it in the Christmas peak time, you maybe have missed like $10,000 in sales, which for some might be not too much, but I wouldn't say no to that, right?
Right.
And right. Yeah, so these are the nice tips.
And
also for, yeah, sure.
It's not just the text, it's your images also. So don't think,
yes.
oh, just because,
Exactly.
I didn't write it in the text fields of the A+ content, it's edited into the images, so it doesn't matter. That's not the case. They're still checking that too. So don't think of that as like a little sneaky way to get around Amazon's rules, because
sometimes it might work, I will gotta say.
Okay, maybe, but I guess it depends on who's reviewing your.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Sometimes you might resubmit the same thing and it still might, but I would recommend that because it's just time. But sometimes you're right. Sometimes you might get the same thing without changing anything, submit it. That's the funny part about people who review stuff on Amazon. But sometimes in the images from, you can, you can hide what you couldn't write, but usually they will still find it because they can even scan without people doing that. Robots do that. They can scan your pictures on the enhanced broad content. And if you use things like a guarantee, I think, and stuff like free or buy now, these will get automatically without even being checked by a human. You're going to get a message like, we don't accept that. Or sometimes you might put it into the process of them checking. The machine will not catch this thing, but the human will. And so it's just a waste of time. I also got to say to the viewers that Emma creates A+ contents and also bullets, descriptions, titles. We're going to have an affiliate link to her services down in the description. Affiliate link means that if you ever do business with Emma and marketing by Emma, I'm going to get a little commission for that. So it's at no extra cost to you, but this way you can support my free content here, or you can just don't use my link, just talk to Emma directly. I don't mind really, but yeah, it could be nice. I appreciate that. And yeah, Emma, I mean, if you have a few more minutes, maybe you can give us a little bit of a wish for 2021. That could be nice. Maybe something.
Oh, a wish.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like 2020 sort of gave a really good opportunity to review what matters and what's important. And like, we spent time before the pandemic. We were traveling to tons of conferences and go. And I think that this 2020 was really just like stripping everything away and digging into the basics. So I realized that, people are probably here and they're hoping for business success. And I certainly wish that for everybody, but just as much, I wish for the basics of health and happiness, and looking forward to hopefully being able to get back to seeing family and friends and just those, fundamental human things that I think we're probably all really craving right now.
Yeah, hopefully in this year we're gonna get more of that, because we are humans that are currently in a position where we
Yeah.
kind of lost many things that we're used to, which teaches us many things about the world that it can be really surprising at times. But thank you. Yeah, thank you for your positive things for this year. I wish you the same, and your customers, and your husband as well. Erez is a cool guy. I mean, sometimes in contact with him is fun to talk to him as well. And yeah, and Emma, thank you for coming today. Also on the screen here, I'll leave the video, our previous video with you about bullets title in the description, and also I'll leave another video for adding these images to EBC to the description. Sometimes people don't know how to do that, so this tutorial is gonna appear here as well. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Emma.
Awesome. Thank you, Vova. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.